Hello my people, it's your girl Tofu. Today we're going to be chatting about HBO's Chernobyl series, conducting a sort of informal personal review. I would like to preface this by saying that I'm not an expert in nuclear disasters or the like.
I'm a nuclear physicist.
This video is not educational and does not address specific details of the incident. Rather, this video is a short discussion of the feelings that the HBO series evokes. Chernobyl is perhaps the greatest, most unique television show that I've ever had the privilege to watch and experience.
Not great, not terrible.
It's a horrifying masterpiece with massive production quality. I specifically love the sound design. It has incredible stories, engrossing urban legends, and some actual science, all brought to life in a 5-hour time frame. Despite doing reaction videos on the channel, like I'm currently doing Game of Thrones on the channel, they're gonna have the sex, oh my god! I made the decision to watch HBO's Chernobyl by myself, and for reasons that we might briefly mention later, I'm certainly glad that I did. Chernobyl was a surreal experience because immediately after finishing the series, I just rewatched it. Twice. I watched the series a total of 3 times in 2 days. I forced my boyfriend to watch it, my father to watch it within that same time frame. I told people in my research lab at school to watch it during our lab's weekly meetings. The lab meeting where I reassure my professor that I'm definitely making excellent progress on that research paper that I haven't actually started at all yet. I messaged my friends on Discord about it, I tweeted about it, I texted my brother about it. I talked to anyone who would listen to me, willingly, unwillingly, about this show. And it took me a while to figure out why. What was it about this show that captivated me so, that bewitched me into this obsession that I had, that I couldn't think about anything else after watching it, rewatching it, and rewatching it? HBO's Chernobyl is an objectively good show, well written, well executed, but it wasn't the superb acting or the interesting time hops, it wasn't simply the exceptional scoring. Sometimes it was the creative decisions on the producer's ends, sometimes it was simply the way that the show was framed and shot, but then again sometimes it was the characters. But then it dawned on me why I felt haunted by Chernobyl, and it's because this is a rare occasion where I can not only identify with the heroes of a true story and relate to them, and this is the important part, but I could identify with and relate to the villains of that same true story. Uncomfortable, I know, but we'll delve into that a little bit further in a few minutes. Let's begin with how one may relate to the heroes of this story. Interestingly, I think that anyone can relate to something or someone in this series. One may be drawn to the story itself and the facts and the incident surrounding the disaster, or you could be attracted to the filmmaking or the characters, like Legasov and other experts struggling to find a solution to an escalating and defeating situation, or perhaps you were entranced by the stories of the little guys. Not the key players necessarily, or the highly televised characters. Maybe it was the one man we follow when citizens were shoveling graphite off of the roof. Or maybe it was the miners who were digging underneath the reactor, was it? The little guys. For me, I was drawn to all of these. But as a 21-year-old in a nearly 5-year relationship, I must admit I was particularly drawn to the story of Vasya Ignatenko and his wife, and there was something particularly heart-wrenching in watching their story unfold in this series. I tend to approach my life always thinking that it has always just started. I always feel like my partner and I are at the beginning of our story, and that we have so much more life to live before our end. But to watch these two individuals just a few years older than he and I, in love, just beginning their journey together, and to see it cut short, it was disturbing. Everyone in this series felt real, every situation they were placed in was tangible, but I could definitely feel the desperation of Ignatenko's wife as she tried to find her husband after the disaster, as she fought for time to see him, to hold him, and to comfort him in his remaining days. Episode 3 in particular was difficult to watch, of course, and as the facial identifiers sort of melted away from Vasya Ignatenko's face and body, I didn't hear him screaming in pain when he did. I heard my partner. I didn't see Vasya's physical health decline, I saw my partner's. When Ludmila took her husband's hand, it was me taking my partner's hand, feeling what it was like to slowly lose the person you love most in this world. It started to tear me apart. It's these stories in the Chernobyl series that make us feel what the victims of this incident likely felt. It seems like the focus of the show was about capturing the panic, the fear, the hopelessness, and the anguish that our characters felt. And that is what the heroes of the story teach us: what to feel, how to feel it, when to feel it. We're taught some humanity, but in the most ruthless, unforgiving way. This show simply didn't care about my age, didn't care about my feelings as a viewer. They wanted me to feel something, and feel something I did. I both appreciate this and resent it, because at times it was difficult to watch, but I also couldn't look away. Now, as for the villains, they teach us something entirely different, but they teach us just as ruthlessly. Now, forgive me, I might butcher these names, but as revealed in episode 5, villains are not only specific individuals like Dyatlov and Foreman and Brukhanov, but the real villain was Russia's system, society, culture, and values at that time. Now, we've all cut corners. I will be the first to admit that I cut corners way too often in every area of my life, and I continually find ways to justify it. Oh, I don't have time to do school, and chores, and errands, and videos, and streaming, and editing, blah, 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 blah. No, I have the time. I have the capability. I still give these explanations to myself and to others to excuse the fact that I have used Quizlet for my online quizzes, that I have made a situation seem 10 times better to a superior/higher up even when I'm lying out of my ass. I've reassured a higher up that I'm really proud of how my research paper is progressing, when in actuality I haven't started it at all. And it's due later that night. I have half-assed codes, I have skimmed over research, I have flubbed a works cited page or two in the past. The amount of times I have cut corners just to get a grade I want, or just to finally be done with a class, they are innumerable. It makes me deeply uncomfortable to see the Soviet bureaucrats take shortcuts because I take shortcuts. Chernobyl exposes not only an individual's tendency to lie, but our tendencies toward arrogance, greed, ambition, and even laziness. And just because you're not a Soviet bureaucrat doesn't mean that you don't exhibit the same behavior that they exhibited in this series and in history. Like many, I found myself furious at Dyatlov, Brukhanov, Foreman, and even Sherbina because they try to sugarcoat things to their superiors as a result of the society at the time. They want their positive recognition and praise and power in their promotions with no regard as to what the cost of those things actually are. I'm furious at them, but isn't that some alarming hypocrisy on my end because I do the same exact things that they do? Now, my actions have not resulted in a nuclear disaster yet, but there are consequences to the choices that I make, and I choose to ignore them, don't I? And surely I'm not the only one who does this. Both the protagonists and antagonists of this story, of this incident, have taught me different things. The protagonists teach us how to feel, but the antagonists expose our own flaws. And it was the antagonists that impacted me in such an unexpected way. It was they who exposed my own weaknesses and forced my eyes open to make sure I knew those weaknesses and had to acknowledge them. And that's kind of it. That's all I really have to say. Before we begin to wrap up this video, I would encourage everyone who has watched and enjoyed HBO's Chernobyl series to also check out the producer's accompanying podcast here on YouTube. There's 5 parts, I believe, and each part is probably around an hour or so long. But it was absolutely fascinating to listen to and was the perfect companion to the series. If you want to check it out, the link is in the description below. I hope that I was able to provide a little insight into my own experience of watching the Chernobyl series, and I hope you enjoyed this video. In the end, I'm really glad that I did not react to the show publicly. The series tries to document and account the stories of real people, and although I typically take no issue with clickbaiting because girls gotta eat, I think it would have been kind of disrespectful of me to upload a reaction on this series. I don't often do review or reflection videos like this. It's been a while since our last one, and it was for a game, I think. So let me know if you would like to see more of these types of videos from me. One last thing before we end today, I just want to say thank you to HBO for creating this wonderful series, and for not only depicting an exposed reactor core, but for exposing my own flaws. Thank you!